Are you ready to get spicy?
These Doritos Golden Sriracha aren't that spicy.
Sriracha? Sounds pretty spicy to me.
A little spicy, but also tangy and sweet.
Maybe it's time to turn up the heat.
Or turn it down. It's time for something that's not too spicy. Try Doritos Golden Sriracha.
Spicy.
But not too spicy.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
What is up, Cal fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Golden Bear Cast. Special edition, Golden Tweets. Tweet, tweet. And this is going to be a fast Golden Tweets. This is Andy alongside Rob, as always. Rob, how are the tweets looking?
They're very short. We only got a handful, so I don't know how long this episode is going to be. This could be a very, very short episode. But, you know, we could always make it longer with some random stories and stuff. I have one to share from last night. That's hilarious. And if people want a glance into just my life outside of Cal stuff. So maybe we can do that at the end. But for now, we'll get back to the tweets.
Fire up the tweets.
All right. The first one here, of course, our dear friend Sid, who actually tweeted, she said, I forgot to write in because she thought we recorded on Monday night. But, of course, we didn't get to this until tonight, which is Thursday. So she got her question in, and she says, another rough win in a winnable game. I crashed out, but I now think Wilcox should finish out the year at the very least. Like Andy has talked about, we give teams confidence back instead of taking it and snuffing it. I think that's what happened here.
I agree. You know, we let them hang around too long. We have those drops in the end zone. That was a big one because it felt like you had an opportunity to really put some disbelief. After, what game was it? Who was I watching? Was it Texas that came back from down like 18 with 9 minutes left?
Was it Texas? I've already erased all of college football from my memory except for all the news that happens this week in terms of like coaching firings, but
they were down
right.
17 in the fourth quarter against Mississippi State and came back to win. And I was like, Mississippi State fans, we get you. You get us. We should be friends. Man. So I did find that there are other fan bases out there that are going through similar experiences as us. Just doesn't happen that often. It was the funny thing was, Rob, was in the championship softball game, I was thinking about that exact quote, and I had an opportunity, actually both in the semifinals and in the championship game, but mainly in the semifinals, to win the game or put the game completely out of reach, and I blew it, and I was like, wow, look at me. I'm on the podcast saying that we can't take away their belief, and then when I'm given the opportunity to do so myself, I totally blow it.
Hey, man, winning's not easy at any level of any sport.
At least we won in the semifinal. But
there you go. Yeah, at least you won. But it's never easy to win.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. And I think that gets lost. But I do think that I don't know what it is with these teams where it just sort of feels like we can play up to anyone, and that's again why I feel so optimistic about the game this weekend. Like going into this weekend, I'm like, Cal could easily win this game. And I think last week I was more of the mindset of like, Cal, we're going to lose. I was like, we're going to find a way to lose. This one, I'm like, I think we can find a way to win. And I'd be more surprised if it was like a complete shellacking at home. And in that case, I think, we're talking serious regime change calls and all of that. But I don't expect that at all. I think it'll be close. Could be a heartbreaker, but I sort of think, as you have said, Rob, the ball has been bouncing our way this year. think the Virginia game is one where it bounces our direction, sneak out a win, and, on to Louisville.
Yeah, and then you're bowl eligible. So there's that at least to kind of to glean into and have a little fun with,
Yeah, there's extra football.
Yeah,
We
extra
might
football.
even want to go. I don't
Depends
know
on where
though.
we go,
We
but
can
yeah.
start dreaming about Vegas again. We
I would-
always
I-
dream
yeah,
about Vegas. We're
we can
like,
still
we'll
dream
go,
about Vegas.
we'll go to the studio with Blue Wire. We'll do the recording. We'll be great. And then every year it's like, oh no, El Paso.
Yeah,
How about Shreveport?
Well, it can't be Shreveport. I doubt we drop that far to Shreveport, and I don't think they would pick us again. So
No, we didn't represent well in the first.
well, that too. But I mean, I think they'll get their choice because there's going to be enough Pac-12 teams that are available for bowl selections.
Yeah.
Because because we're all playing in different leagues. Like the odds of us all getting to 6 wins is fairly high, or a lot of the teams getting to 6 wins is fairly high. So we'll see. That's a question we can look at. I probably want to say within the next 2 weeks because
Yeah.
it's Virginia this year, and then Louisville next week, and then it's the bye week. So, what happens these next 2 games will probably be very telling on what bowl we'll be going to, if we're bowl eligible, and what the other teams in the former Pac-12 look like, and where they might be in the bowl selection standings.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we'll move on. Scotty Mo 949 says bad coaching and adjustments continue, and he has 3 questions here. I'm gonna read you the first one. You can answer that one for me, and then we'll move on to the other 2. Thoughts on the 2 DC model? Mistake? ? Should Wilcox start calling defensive plays next game?
I don't think the 2 DC model is working. I wish I had better examples of how often that is being used in college football. But as I've had time to kind of step away from our first podcast and really think about that, because I think we brought up the fact that Sermon look, I wasn't the biggest fan of the DeRuyter to Sermon switch. It felt like we went from a defense that attacked to a defense that was very bend, not break, and like tightened up big time within the 30 or 20-yard line. And I very much preferred watching the one that was a little bit more aggressive. But that being said, seeing the defense this year certainly feels like we've slipped and regressed in comparison to where we were before. I think, you can make a really good, again, I think when you think about that director, VP, CEO level, position, like a CEO does a lot of things, but at the end of the day, hiring is number one. You have to have amazing talent around you. You starts there, and then you can do everything else. So, not that those coaches that have been moved into those positions aren't good coaches. I just think that the benefit of focus, the responsibility for the entire unit as a whole, it would seem to me that is one of those decisions that if things go really sideways this year, that it's not only going to be us revisiting that, but I think that's going to be one of those that Justin's going to want to revisit as well.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, as fans and all of us outside of the building, like, we don't necessarily know what their roles are as the co-DCs. So that's like the hardest thing for me to try and figure out is like, how are their roles and responsibilities divvied up? I think most people just would just imagine it to be like they're both calling plays at the same time. That I highly, highly doubt. So it's just a matter of how are the roles and responsibilities divvied up? Are they doing their roles and responsibilities to the best extent that they can do it? And I don't have an answer to that because I don't know what their roles and responsibilities are. So
there's a quote from The Office, and oh my gosh, this is incredible. ChatGPT. It is. I did blank. I was going to use GPT for it, and it is it has what is happening?
He's all over the place.
This is actually a hallucination. This is I as someone who watched The Office this much, I don't believe this ever happened. This would be great. This is how we're gonna fill the time, Rob. So Oscar Martinez, this is what GPT said. I said, what is Oscar's quote about two presidents in The Office? Because he has a quote about it. And it said, Oscar, in season 5, episode 23, the Michael Scott Paper Company says, you have two managers. One says you have to come in early. One says you can't come in early. You're caught in the middle like a sandwich. It's the Michael Scott Paper Company sandwich. That never happened. I'm so positive.
We're gonna have to go back and watch that episode now to figure out if that was actually a quote or not.
Dude. Oh, I just said that never happened, and it said, "Yeah, you're right." Anyways, I'm not gonna find it because ChatGPT is not doing me any favors right now. But yes, it was just this like really funny line about like when there were co-managers in the office, and he's like, what think about your country and co-presidents, or what great ship has had co-captains. I just think it's like one of those funny things. I think there's examples of it working, but overall, I think it tends to not work more often than it hits.
Yeah, I mean the only example I can give, and it's not of the DC like co-DC model, but it is of like co-coaching. Is like we've had defensive back coordinator or defensive back coaches for however many years now since GA left. And our defensive back production hasn't really dropped off until this year. So, but I mean, once again, that's a position coach thing. But it's a micro version of the macro DC. But we do have like a room that works with two guys in charge.
I got the actual quote.
What is it?
Look, it doesn't take a genius to know that every organization thrives when it has two leaders. Go ahead, name a country that doesn't have two presidents. A boat that sets sail without two captains. Where would Catholicism be without the popes?
That sounds like a real quote.
Yes, that is it. That is it.
Yeah. Now I'm really going to have to find out if the Sanders quote is a real one. It's going to be hilarious.
There's no way.
I'm going to die if it's a real quote. If it's a real quote, it's just the AI one. The AI one.
That's true. The AI one, Andy's hero. Okay, yeah. Moving on. Second question.
Scotty Mo says, any DB personnel changes due to poor tackling and effort? I mean, I would assume so. I think, one of the things that Wilcox has said, well, that's a little bit different, or the tone that's changed, at least. I don't know if it's regarding the DBs, but they did ask him about that with the wide receivers, and because people were asking him why the guys behind on the 2 deep weren't getting looks. And a couple weeks ago, his kind of answer was like, every snap played is like every snap earned. So he's basically saying like you have to earn it in practice to be able to play in a game. I think after the Virginia Tech game, he I don't know the exact quote, and we can get it at some point, but he basically alludes to like, we're going to look at whoever can help us to win. And I think that was in regards to the wide receivers, but I think it would apply to the majority of it, because as we talked about in the previous podcast, like you're looking at that Hezekiah Mass's effort on that particular play, and I don't know how you can sit in the room with the other DBs and be like, yeah, he's still the starter, like with that highlight being played. So we'll see what it looks like in against Virginia. I think my expectation and just conversations that I've had is that we'll see maybe a little bit more variety in the snap count. Not necessarily like who's starting over someone else, but we might be seeing a little bit more opportunities given to some other guys. But we'll find out on Saturday.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Pull Hezekiah Massis?
I don't know if you pull him fully, but like you might give a couple more spell snaps to the guy behind him.
Wow. All right.
Right.
Yeah. It's a tough one, right? Like I genuinely don't know. I think he's your best cover DB.
Are you ready to get spicy?
These Doritos Golden Sriracha aren't that spicy.
Maybe it's time to turn up the heat.
Or turn it down. It's time for something that's not too spicy. Try Doritos Golden Sriracha,
Spicy.
but not too spicy.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download today.
Yeah, I mean that's why he got the starting position. So it's how much of a drop off is there between 1 and 2?
Yeah.
We don't know, and maybe it's one of those, like as you talked about in the previous pod, like sometimes guys are just gamers, and you're just not going to know until you see them out in a real game setting.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there needs to be some level of accountability for the effort on that overtime play.
yeah, I absolutely agree. The last one. Besides NIL, what should the focus be on to keep JKS with us? New wide receivers, etc. You can answer this one.
I think it's a bigger answer. Where I would go with this one in particular is that I think what Ron talked about is this idea of always on recruiting means that the effort to keep JKS has been going on since he arrived in spring. And it's definitely not going to boil down to one thing. I think, Rob, you might have mentioned this, but I don't think he goes to Oregon and then transfers to Cal just to then jump at a bag of money elsewhere. But I do think that you have to be communicating a vision that he can buy into, because certainly there's been a lot of drops and frustration. And as Ron said, we're the University of fucking California. So we need to start acting like it. I'd really like to see an aggressiveness from our program in going out and an aggressiveness to chase down an identity, an aggressiveness to chase down something or someone or a vision to break through this 6 or 7 win glass ceiling. And I think those are the things that gets Jaren to stay. But I think there's a lot of things going in our favor. I think ultimately the family backs him being at Cal, and that being the right decision for him. I think the decision of going to Oregon and then coming over, I think the fact that he's had a lot of success, he's starting as a freshman, again, that's in our favor. Not every program allows you to do that. He's basically guaranteed the starting role. As a sophomore, we still have the legacy, even though Aaron Rodgers breaks my heart every time on Sunday Night Football by saying, he didn't even say a college. He didn't even say Butte College. He just said freaking Chico. Chico, California. That was devastating. But yeah, I think it's a holistic commitment to not being what we have been, which is basically irrelevant for the last 10 to 15 years. And if we can convince Jaren that we are going to be relevant and that we're going to take advantage of all of this time that we've spent on ESPN and in 7:30 games, which are brutal for all of us fans, but are great for eyeballs. That's what we buy into.
I think for Jaren, it's going to be very easy to sell him on another year here. I think the people that are a little bit worried, and with recruiting, things can change on a dime. But my expectation is that you could easily sell him for another year because you could show him the timeline. He was a part of all the events that occurred with, the change in offensive coordinator and the wide receivers leaving and the timing of the departures and the wide receiver room, the running back room, and the inability to reinforce that just because of how the transfer portal works and, all the starting position guys probably out of the portal, in the fall and not the spring, or the winter and not the spring. So I think, if the family's rational enough and Ron's talking to them through that, like, I think it's easy to sell him and be like, look, we're gonna make it right. We're gonna get you the weapons around you to help you succeed, both offensive line, wide receivers, running backs. So I think it's easy to sell him on one more year and convince him to be like, just give us another chance. But production and ability to bring in like who is going to be key for next season. And a part of that also is on Jaren's shoulders too, because he has to be able to convince guys of the skill positions that this is a place where they should come and play with him. Thankfully, the tape has looked good enough now where you could probably easily convince a few guys to come play here. But the caliber of which those guys are, that's going to be dependent on the NIL. That's going to be dependent on, I think, who's recruiting them, coaches, Ron, and then also Jaren building a relationship with some of those guys via the portal, or maybe he's already had some relationships with some of those guys due to, the Elite 11 circuit or 7-on-7 circuit and so on. So that's probably what it's gonna come down to. I think a lot of people just look at this type of thing and go like, it's not on the player, but like the player has just as much of an input in these situations to convince guys to come play as much as the staff and as much as the support staff does.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be cool. I mean, eventually we're going to see this in the NIL era where players take less to get more talent around them, right? I mean, it's like what Tom Brady used to do for the Patriots, and always adjusting his contract so that they could sign someone. You see it a lot in pro sports. You know that's coming.
Well, I mean, that's like the fun little tidbit of like what's it? James Franklin or Jimbo Fisher or some of these guys who have huge buyouts that are not coaching right now is because some of these guys have offsetting contracts, right? So like for the I don't know what the number was, but let's say Jimbo Fisher doesn't have a requirement to search for a job. He doesn't have a duty to search for a job. So like he's just sitting at home getting paid by Texas A&M. Let's say he's getting paid $10 million a year. I don't remember what the actual number was, but let's say it is $10 million a year. He could probably if a program could convince him, you could probably go, you're getting $10 million a year from Texas A&M for the next 3 years. We won't pay you a salary, but all the money that we had to the salary that we were going to give you, we'll pour into the NIL, we'll pour into support staff costs, and then starting from year 3 or year 4 is like when we'll start to pay your contract. And so you're front loading because you're getting free cash from Texas A&M, right? Basically, they're paying the bill for your coach. So like, could you make that type of deal with some coach somewhere, like a James Franklin type? And that's going to be very interesting to see if any coaches take that deal, because that means their war chest and the financial situation of wherever they are will be massively beneficial to their success than if he was just like, because he's already getting paid. Like the money's not going anywhere. So,
dude, I love that, Rob. That's the outside the box thinking that I'm talking about.
So yes. I don't know. So what programs can offer that? What programs are enticing enough to offer that? Like, what programs are enticing enough for those coaches to want to go there with that type of deal? I don't know. But that was one of the things I read, I think earlier this week when they were talking about, like a potential thing that could happen with how the landscape is right now. So
yeah,
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see with this coaching carousel, if we see any coach take that type of deal.
It's a cool thought.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. We'll move on. Tyler Tomei says, same questions I will have for Wet Beefs and Nam on their at Mass. I'm sure you'll get a question about the 2-minute drill fiasco and the inability to stop the read option play, but my juiciest take is I thought we should have gone for 2 on the last last touchdown with 2:34 left. Thoughts? His theory is that, my theory being I did not like our chances in college overtime format. At that point, I would have preferred to stress their quarterback's throwing ability to take the ball out of the running back's hands.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because you and I disagreed on the Belichick UNC Virginia game.
Yeah, the
decision
go for 2
there, right?
Yeah.
I would have thought maybe would have, it's just one of those things. Like, we saw it play out and we saw Cal get the touchdown. So I maybe would have said the same thing, but then all of a sudden we do get that quick score in overtime. And so I think that, like, we could hang, and we did hang long enough to give ourselves, a real shot at winning the game. Maybe there's an argument to be made on the going for two, because we were already fortunate enough. Like, we were already kind of playing with house money after the, roughing the quarterback call. So maybe in that scenario, you just say, hey, this is house money anyways. Let's just go for it. But that's a lot of time left. And the way we're giving up runs, I think how much did we say? 2 minutes, like 2+ minutes? Like,
yeah, it's like 2 minutes and 30 left with the 2-minute timeout.
I don't know if that even, and in that case, like, do they probably get downfield and then they just kick a field goal to win?
Probably.
Maybe they're more aggressive about getting better field position than they were when they were just tied. Like it did. I think Nick made that point in his article where it felt like they could have been more aggressive and they held up a little bit and they just kicked it from where it was, but they like easily could have gotten more yards and set their kicker up a little bit better.
I mean, I feel like there was just too much time on the clock at that point where the butterfly effect is too big to, like, question whether it was the right decision or not. Like, it's just there's just way too many parameters and factors because there's so much time left on the clock that, like, I don't necessarily think going for two there would have been the right call. In my mind, I think it was what they did was the right call. But I mean, I get the argument. Like, if you're looking back at it in hindsight, and if we, of course, also the caveat there is, like, if you had succeeded on going for two, then that helps your case. But once again, anytime you go for two is like the point per play drops drastically because you're being backed up further than a PAT. So I don't know.
I'd be curious to hear what the take is at Mass,
which already happened last night. So
the answer might be out there.
I didn't get a chance to listen to it, so I don't know what Wet Beefs and Nam said, but knowing them, I'm sure it was a good discussion. I'm very curious as to what Wet Beefs would have said because he's the former player and what he would have preferred, particularly as a defensive player, what he would have preferred in that scenario. But coaching decisions is different from what the player wants on the field. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's it. That's all the tweets.
All right.
4 tweets.
We did pretty well. Take us home, Rob. Let's hype up Oski's Village.
Yeah.
Are these breakfast burritos? Like,
breakfast,
how good?
Yeah, breakfast burritos for our little tailgate there. It's gonna be a cool time.
Have you had it before?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good breakfast burrito.
Is it worth $25?
Well, the $25 isn't just a breakfast burrito. It covers, like, your drinks and stuff too.
Okay. Cocktails? Yeah. Malort?
Yeah, Malort. There'll be.
Come on, sell me on the experience.
Well, for our tailgate, it's like there's the drinks, there's all you can drink. So there's, non-alcoholic beverages, sodas, juice boxes for the kids, water, all that sort. And then there's a bunch of snacks. And then the breakfast burritos also have a couple of big travelers of coffee. So, because it will be an early morning. And so, yeah, I believe Oski's Village this week too has, like, a really cool thing. Let me see if I can pull up the little screenshot. Where is it?
Well, I was sold as soon as you said juice boxes, Rob. I mean,
well, yeah, because that's your drink of choice is the Honest Kids juice box. Here's the thing. Here's a little screenshot I got. Come experience the Spotlight at Oski's Village with Pepsi's main character sampling tour. Sip bold new Pepsi flavors, capture share-worthy moments, and live your main character energy in this immersive brand experience. Don't miss your chance to star in the story only at Oski's Village.
So is it like a Halloween thing?
I think so, yeah. And they're going to have like, Pepsi's like kind of doing they'll have a little station out. There's going to be food trucks there, a bunch of student performances. It is Asian American Pacific Islander Appreciation Day, so that's going to be pretty cool. I believe if you're a student and you're in the student section, they're giving away like these really cool like roped trucker hats with like the Cal bear paw on it. And yeah, that's going to be Saturday. It'll be an early day, but also it means early finish. Like we'll be out of there by like 4:30, so that'll be nice.
That will be unbelievable.
Yeah, you can come home and you can watch, the late night slate of college football. I'm like looking at the slate right now. I'm seeing if Hawaii plays at home. They do not. They're playing at San Jose State, so you can actually watch another local game. On CBSSN, or you can watch where College Game Day is this week. Number 17 Cincinnati at number 24 Utah at 7:15. So choices. Lots of them for everyone. But yeah, that wraps it up for us here on the Golden Pearcast. We'll see you all. If we see you at the game, we see you at the game. If not, you'll be back here listening to us talk about whatever happened in that Virginia game come next week. And Andy, as always, go Bears.
Go Bears.